President Biden was in Cleveland, Ohio yesterday. He was discussing union pensions and the economy that continues to face a 40-year high of inflation. Let's listen to the president.
We made incredible progress on the economy from where we were a year and a half ago. We got a long way to go because of inflation, because of I call it the Putin tax increase. Putin, because of gasoline and all that grain he's keeping from being able to get to the market. Now I'm fighting like hell to lower costs on things that you talk about around your kitchen table.
Joining us now to discuss our panelists, you see the chairman of CPAC, author of the book Desecrators, Matt Schlapp. Also with us, Democratic analyst Jonathan Harris. Gentlemen, thanks so much for coming on National Report today. As we saw, the president was out and about. He left Washington, D.C., and he was in Cleveland talking about the state of the economy and also those worker pensions as well. Matt, I'll start with you, though. The blame game continues, this time specifically in that soundbite on Vladimir Putin.
Yeah, this is a lie. We have high gas prices in America because the Green New Deal, which Joe Biden supports, has as one of its goals raising the prices exponentially of gasoline and diesel and all fossil fuels so that the American people won't use so much of fossil fuels and they will switch to renewables. This is their stated policy goal. The run up to gas prices started to happen when Joe Biden started to cancel all these domestic energy programs. The Keystone XL pipeline was just one example. It would have been done by the end of the year. It was 50% done when Joe Biden came into office, and it would have replaced all the fossil fuel products we import from Russia. So when you cancel these programs, it has a huge impact.
Jonathan Harris, do you think that strategy is working? We always talk about messaging. I know you bring it up here. And President Biden continuing to blame Vladimir Putin. He also mentioned Republicans in the speech yesterday, blaming them for stalling any sort of work on addressing the economy here. But are people really buying that?
You know, you might actually be surprised at my answer. I'm going to go ahead and say probably not. I do give kudos to the president for really focusing on the messaging. During his speech in Ohio, he actually called out Republicans by name. I think it was Rick Scott, Rob Johnson, Lindsey Graham. That, I think, is working. That, I think, is something that the president is going to have to do more. But I don't think that I don't want to say blaming Putin. I don't think highlighting the role that the war in Ukraine is playing, because it is playing a role. It is raising gas prices. We've essentially boycotted everything coming out of Russia. So obviously that's impacting gas prices. But I don't know that that message is resonating with voters. And so I think he might be better suited to just point out that gas prices are high all over the world, and point out that gas prices actually started rising under the Trump administration. And they've just essentially continued, because a huge role in that has been the recovering economy and the fact that when we were locked down, people weren't driving. And then all of a sudden, as the economy recovered, people began driving and the price of gas continued to rise. I think he'd be better served to do that than keep bringing up Ukraine.
What about, Matt, from a strength perspective as well? It almost looks like you're passing the buck, right? He has no control over it. It's all Vladimir Putin's fault. Why can't the U.S. get this under control?
Well, because when you cancel Drill Baby Drill, when you cancel all these programs in America, it has a huge impact. It has a psychological impact when people know that America is not going to be energy dominant. We're not going to be a net exporter of fossil fuel products. Think about our president going to Saudi Arabia to beg them to produce more oil. I mean, this is back to the 1970s and Jimmy Carter. We were energy dominant under Trump. Yes, the prices of gasoline always go up in summer driving season. Yes, there are a lot of things that contribute to these prices. I'm not going to deny that the war in Ukraine hasn't had an impact, but the number one driver to increased gasoline and diesel prices in America is the fact that this administration, as is its stated policy, the desire to end fossil fuels. When they say that we're going to have zero carbon emissions, right, in the next couple of decades, what they're saying is 100% of our economy will be renewables. This is a fantasy. This is outrageously expensive. It's actually a lie, and we have to stop the Green New Deal right now.
All right.
To point out that, first of all, gas prices are actually down right now. They're down about 35% 35 cents, I'm sorry, right now. They've been on a pretty steady decline. And so I think that's also important to point out that while in this season, normally we would be seeing peaking gas prices, they're actually coming down. And I think one of the problems with, no, it's a fact. I just put it out there and you can do what you want with it. But I think one of the issues with the talking point on the right is that what you're saying isn't true. And you can tell that it's not true because if what you're saying was true, then we would have uniquely high gas prices and the rest of the world would not. Oil is a global market.
I can answer that question. If you give me time, I can answer that.
Go ahead, Matt.
Europe is, we're simply copying what Europe did decades ago. European motor fuels are more expensive because Europe has adopted all these strategies, and not all of these countries have the ability, like Hungary and other countries, they don't have these fossil fuel treasures in the ground like we have here. America is uniquely situated to dominate energy markets if we're willing to drill and to explore. So that is what the Biden administration doesn't want. So our motor fuel prices are now mirroring European motor fuel prices.
Okay, we're going to leave that there. I wanted to get your guys' take on this. Some people who were notably absent from the president's speech in Cleveland yesterday. Democratic candidates, two of them, top ones. One, Tim Ryan, who's running for Senate, and Nan Whaley, who's running for governor there, both Democrats. They were not in attendance. I think Tim Ryan had said he had a previous engagement there. This, Jonathan, sounds kind of familiar to Stacey Abrams. Yes. Remember when she had that scheduling conflict when the president was also in Georgia talking about election law? What do you think about this? Do they really want to be seen with the president at this point?
Well, I mean, look, I think President Biden's approval rating right now, I think it's like 42% with Gallup. I mean, Trump's was 34% when he was fired as president. And I think that there were people who still wanted to campaign with him. I think that more importantly, what Biden wanted to do is highlight that he was in Ohio to point out that people's pensions were becoming insolvent due to the 2008 financial crisis, and that due to the American Rescue Plan that he passed, that he signed into law, that has helped fix the problem with these pensions for the next 30 years. I think he wanted to keep the focus on that and not divert attention making this about midterms or anything like that. Okay. I think that was what his focus was.
Matt Schlapp, your reading on it, and I was just looking. The approval rating, it varies, of course, based on which poll you're looking at. But right. It is at least...
I was citing Gallup.
Okay. In the 30s for several others. Matt Schlapp, your thoughts?
Look, Joe Biden has been enduringly in the middle to high 30s on the Real Clear Politics average. And I don't see how he gets out of that morass. And the way you can see that those poll numbers are historically low for a long period of time is the fact that Democratic candidates don't want to be seen with him. They also don't want to be seen with Kamala Harris. You don't see Joe Biden headlining a lot of fundraisers because this Biden administration is associated with these policies which are so unpopular. Let's face it, it's just going to happen. There's a big red wave building. Democrats were going to lose these races that they might have won in other cycles. And then the question is, what do Republicans do with these majorities they're going to have? What do they do with that power? They better do the right thing this time.
Trump's
they're going to have some angry folks
that doesn't really make sense.
All right. We'll just have to wait and see what happens in November. We'll see if those approval ratings actually pair out with voters. All right. Matt Schlapp, Jonathan Harris, always appreciate the discussion. Thank you guys so much. Thanks.